Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. Shocking last few days with the Conor Benn failed drug test saga. Right. I honestly can't believe what I've seen the last few days. I mean, you're trying to give the bloke the benefit of the doubt, right? None of us wants him to be guilty, right? We don't, right? We don't want to hammer him. We want him to be innocent. But he's making it extremely difficult for us to do that. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. His actions of his promoter and himself, they're acting like spoiled kids who have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. That's it. They want to take accountability, deflection tactics, blaming everyone else, pointing other things out, and not taking any type of accountability, right? That interview with the Sun was an absolute car crash. It was the worst interview I've ever seen from a fighter who's trying to get the public on his side who has failed a drug test. Like, it was absolutely unbelievably bad. First of all, the Sun, right? You know, people have perceptions of the Sun. Why on earth you'd have that as the paper straight away to give you an interview? Okay, give it down the line, but as the first one? And the way he's coming, the way he came across in that interview, Conor Benn, just as, again, no accountability, blaming other people, as though we should apologise to him. I'm going to get onto Eddie Hearn later on, right? Because his credibility is just going lower and lower and lower. He might not give a fuck. He'll just say it's not hurting him in the pocket, right? Okay, he's lost money on that fight, but on the Benn Eubank fight, but he'll cut his losses as long as it doesn't hurt him in the pocket, because he's just saying anything at the moment, that bloke. You're thinking to yourself, he's not going to come out with crocodile tears and play the victim. You know, he's going to own up to it. He seems like that kind of guy. And then you're watching that interview and there's tears down his eyes and he's playing the victim and you're thinking, really? Is that what you're doing? I mean, are you that stupid? Can you not see how this looks? Whoever is advising the bloke needs to be sacked or needs to stop, right? Because it's been dealt with horrendously. First of all, right, let me just tell you, all he has to do, it's very, very simple. All he has to do is come out and say, I will prove my innocence to the end. I am innocent, right? I'm all about fighter safety. I'd never put someone at risk, right? I'm not that kind of guy. I'd never do it. I'm shocked as anyone. I can't believe it's been in my system. It's lost me millions of pounds. It can potentially lose me my career. I'm just absolutely heartbroken, right? I don't understand why it's in my system. I'm going to try my best to get the answer to you, right? That's it, right? And make us believe that you're innocent, because let me tell you something, mate. Your actions and the actions of your team isn't befitting of an innocent person. Basically, you're acting like a guilty man. There's too many red flags. Not signing up to VADA last January, blamed it on their paperwork issue. Your manager didn't get the paperwork. Okay, fine, benefit of the doubt. 2 failed drug tests now. Not 1, 2 failed drug tests. Okay? You know, and then you're coming out and you wild theories, conspiracy theories of contamination, and give us a reason to believe that you are innocent. You've had your promoter again, Eddie Hearn. Again, even after this saga, he's just give us a load of waffle for the last few weeks. Absolute nonsense. He's told us to get on the edge of your seats because this answer that Conor Benn's going to come out with, the explanation, right? He's got some super duper answer and we're all going to believe him, right? And we're thinking, God, if Eddie's talking like this, they must have some type of concrete proof. And they come out with that interview yesterday. First of all, which stands out, is he ripped up his Board of Control licence based on a dispute around confidentiality and whose jurisdiction over his VADA tests. Right, okay. So that there tells me, right, so the misconduct charge that he was fined £50,000 for and was basically found guilty of is based on a dispute around confidentiality and who has jurisdiction over his VADA test. So what that means is VADA isn't UKAD, right? UKAD's aligned with the British Boxing Board of Control, who govern UK boxing. VADA, it was an independent body, the gold standard of testing, as Eddie Hearn has said in videos, but it's a private agreement between the fighters, the promoters, and the sanctioning bodies. So if certain people don't want information coming out, doesn't have to be. It's not in the public domain. UCAD, it's different. The Board of Control can put whatever they want out because they're affiliated with him. With Vardo, it's a private agreement. So you're saying the dispute around confidentiality, right? Okay, so you could have effectively said to the board, don't release this information, right? Before the fight, 2 weeks before it, when it came back the test, or 2 weeks before that, now there's 2 failed tests that we now know. Eddie Hearn and their team could have said to the board, right, don't release this information. It's a private agreement. You have no jurisdiction, right? So the board have said, well, hold on a sec. We're sanctioning the thing, right? So this leads on to the point of, did the board leak it to the press? Were their hands tied? I said this in a video a few weeks ago. So that was my theory, and Eddie Hearn confirmed it. He said that the board leaked it to the press about the failed drug test. So is it because they couldn't let the public know? So you're battling again with the board about jurisdictions, about your VADA test. Well, show the test results. All we've been told is from you is that there's low levels. Well, with all due respect, your word ain't king at the moment, mate. Right? So I don't believe anything, to be quite honest with you, that your team or you say. That's my opinion. Right? So you're saying the who has jurisdiction over the test. Well, let's see what the levels are. Let's see it all. Pull it out in the public domain. You've not done that. So is that a conflict with the board? I don't know. Then he says, I won't be boxing under the British Boxing Board ever again. Now I know why my dad ripped up his licence on TV. I will not box for them ever again. The way they've gone about this, the way they knew about this, they could have pulled the fight. I give him my licence back. I won't be boxing for them again. As far as I'm concerned, the board can do one. I've got nothing to hide, but they've got it in for me. Oh my God. Like, this isn't this kind of scenario, mate. You aren't the victim, right? You're the perpetrator. You have failed a drug test, right? The board, what do you want them to do, right? They have to go through a process. Your defences would have done it with other fighters. Other fighters have passed tests and fought. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? I'm not saying that I'm not saying I agree with that. I don't. Right, but that has nothing to do with this test. It's the accountability. You're not taking any. Come out and say, it's in my system. I have to face up to that and man up to that. And I have to take accountability. Not blaming the board and everyone else. It's unbelievable. Why would the board have it in for you? Why? Right, let me tell you something. Right, you have got tremendous benefits from boxing, from having your second name, Benn, right? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have had the head start that you did. It's as simple as that. Yes, you've worked hard and you've trained, right? And you're not drinking all the time. Fair play, right? But you've benefited from having your dad's second name. So you've benefited in boxing. The board is going to make money off you. Why would they have it in for you? Have they ever done anything in the past? Can you show me evidence that they've got it in for you? Or is it just this case? What? I mean, you're seriously sitting there saying the board can do one? At this time when you have to prove your innocence, right? And you're telling the governing body to do one? Who's advising you, mate? All the fighters who were tested positive and cleared to fight, but with me they left it until days before the fight. I don't know what their reasons is. Could it be because my dad ripped up the licence? I don't know. I don't think they care about my innocence. Right. So again, deflecting. Other fighters were cleared to fight. I mean, let that sink in. I mean, that just shows how flawed the system is. You've got someone who's failed a drug test coming out saying, well, other fighters have been cleared to fight, so I should do it. Right, okay. Like a spoilt kid. Well, he's done it, so why should I get in trouble? You're bringing a fighter drastically down in weight to fight you. That's already dangerous as it is. And by the way, your own dad said if this fight happens, he thinks someone can get hurt. Listen to the comments.
And then I saw a picture of Chris Eubanks Jr. You'll find it on the net or whatever in the papers. And I looked at the picture and I saw him. His face is not there and his body is emaciated. And I sent Chris a text saying, sorry Chris, I didn't realise what you were saying. And I asked Chris, I said, Please forgive me, Chris, because I honestly believe if my son had fought Chris now, I believe Conor would have hurt him just like what happened to John McClellan.
That's his own dad. So let it all sink in. You've got his own dad saying, I think there could have been a tragedy in this fight, right? And then he's coming back saying, well, other fighters haven't got off with drug tests. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, if he's trying to make himself look even more guilty, he's doing a good job of it. In the Sun's article, it says, in Benn's corner is a thorough timeline of events, low levels of the substance found in his system, a range of later VADA and UK anti-doping tests that he passed, an expert doping lawyer in Mike Morgan, as well as a plausible explanation from contaminated food. He also said, I wouldn't want to fight without this being resolved, but should I really care about playing the system? I do, so I wouldn't. But part of me thinks if people are portraying me as the villain, I might as well be the villain. I haven't really decided. I mean, that terminology just stinks of entitlement, of so far away with reality that he doesn't understand how he's coming across. He actually doesn't think he's done anything wrong. And now, in his defence, if it has been contamination, or he hasn't taken this substance knowingly, I can understand his frustration and his anger and his hurt. But you have to make people believe you are innocent. You are not doing this. Right? Play the villain. This is not an Oliver Twist pantomime. This is two blokes going in a boxing ring, hitting each other in the head, potentially killing each other. Right? And you had a drug in your system that's a known masking agent and boosts testosterone levels. And you're saying, I think I should play the villain? Yeah, good luck with that, mate. Right? Good luck selling tickets. Good luck getting sponsors. Good luck with that. He also claims he was spiked by someone in or around his gym. Right? He has even researched clofamine, however you pronounce it, and discovered it's being used to boost egg productions in chickens. Benn's camp now believe contamination was the cause, but they still have a battle on their hands. Right. I mean, this bit, he's even researched clofamine and discovered it's being used for egg production. So he's gone on Google and looked at that. Well done. That's the big, with the secret. That's the big evidence. You've gone on Google and researched the thing. Oh my God. Like, it's just absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking how anyone could hear these words and say, put that out to the press. I mean, you've absolutely damaged yourself. I don't know if you're going to come back from this. I mean, you're thinking maybe a few weeks ago or die down, you can come out, you can plead your innocence, you come back, right? You just sound like a spoiled kid, mate. Then says, I passed all my UK tests, which people aren't talking about. I passed all my tests in and around the camp. I've been a professional for years. Right, okay. So just because you passed other tests, that has no relation to this test, right? You didn't pass this test. That's the difference. That's the issue. That's the accountability you have to take. Doesn't matter about the other tests, right? And it has been brought up and it has been mentioned, but no one cares because you failed the VADA test. That's what this is about. Take accountability. Traces amount to a fine. The tiniest of traces. The only thing I can think of is contamination. I've not taken anything. I've never have done. Never would. It's not what I stand for. It's not what my team stand for. Why would I take the biggest fight of my life, sign up to VADA, and then take the substance? If you Google the substance, it stays in your system for months. Do I look like an idiot? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, again, I don't hear any apologies to the fans. I don't hear anything to sponsors who have laid out money for the event. You were selling tickets. You were selling packages when you found out about these tests. No apologies to them in the cost of living crisis. Nothing to say, you know what, right, okay, I have to take responsibilities in my body and people have lost out on money and for that I'm truly sorry for. I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that at all. All I'm hearing is deflection tactics. Well, he never got caught. She never got caught. Blah, 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 blah. Like, the only thing that you're coming out with from this is you think it's contamination. You think someone at your gym spiked your drink. That's the evidence at the moment. I mean, as I say, you're trying to give the kid the benefit of the doubt, right? But he's making it tremendously hard. I mean, if you're asking me, do I believe him? At this moment in time, no. I don't believe anything he says. I don't believe anything his team has said, right? Because, as I said before, his actions aren't befitting of an innocent man. Now, you can come out with the tears and you can do that all you want. That doesn't make a difference. It's your words, mate. It's just no accountability whatsoever. And it's actually scary because does he not realise what people are thinking? Like, does he not think that is an absolute car crash of an interview? Like, and then we've got Eddie Hearn. Let's talk about his behaviour the last few days, right? Picking and choosing who interviews him. Let me tell you something. The difference between a good interviewer and a great one is that a great one will ask questions, but also question the answers that are coming back. That's the difference. Eddie Hearn has deliberately picked and choose who's going to interview him because he knows he might get asked a question because people are putting the pressure on. But once that question's asked, job done from the interviewer, he can come out with whatever he wants and he's not really going to be questioned. And if he does get questioned, it won't really be that hard, right? As I always say, Eddie Hearn's a master manipulator. He's been allowed to manipulate the press for years and years and years. It's not his fault. He's a promoter. He's a salesman. Everyone does it, right? And he's very good at it, right? But when you're dealing with people who are going to ask you questions and probe what's coming back, it's completely different. You can ask Eddie Hearn a question and he can say, the grass is purple, right? He can tell you that. But if no one says, okay, Eddie, why is the grass purple? How is it purple? He's just going to say it, isn't he? Do you understand where I'm coming with this? And I don't want to hear him refer to people by the second name on interviews and having a laugh and a joke. Okay, there's a time for that. I understand it. Not when we're talking about this situation. It's a shocking saga. It's put boxing back years. Right? It's made us a laughing stock, an absolute laughing stock. And Eddie with an interview on TalkSport a few days ago with Laura Woods, who he basically employs, and if he doesn't employ, he works for the same broadcaster who employs Laura Woods, who interviewed him, right? And he had a hand in that. And then you had a retired footballer in Ali McCoy, God bless him, I love him, asking him questions, right? I love Ali McCoy, but it was a joke, that interview. First of all, Laura Woods said, the first thing she said, on fair play, she asked it, what's happening with the B sample? People are getting annoyed. Whose responsibility is it? Completely dodged the question, Eddie Hearn. Look at it. It's on the first few minutes of that interview with TalkSport yesterday or the day before. Dodged the question, right, immediately. Then he's talking with Ali McCoy, and it's the first time he's mentioned this. He said the British Boxing Board of Control leaked it to the press, leaked the news of the failed drug test to the press. Ali McCoy's just completely went off the subject. Never picked up on it, never probed it, never questioned it, right? My response would have been, first of all, Eddie, that is a shocking claim. Absolutely shocking. So you're saying that your own governing body leaked the failed drug test result to the press. If that is the case, Eddie, why would they feel the need to do that? What is in it for them? They want to make millions of pounds as well. They've got a lot of money on this fight, right? They're sanctioning it. Why would they want it to go to the paper? Is it because you were pressing ahead with trying to get this fight over the line? Because legally, as you've said, you could have done, right? We all know that the Board of Control don't recognise VADA, so they couldn't effectively cancel the fight. So were you putting that much pressure on to try and get this over the line, get your grubby little hands on the money, right, and then come out with the waffle afterwards, but it doesn't matter because you've already been paid? Is that why they leaked it to the press? Because you had him over a barrel? I don't want to keep hammering Eddie Hearn. He's done a lot of good for UK boxing, but I'm incredibly disappointed with him. He's let himself down. And I think now he's just going with the fact that he's dug himself a big hole. He's tried to get away with one. He's been caught. So I think he just thinks it'll die down by summertime, right? He's still making money. It's not going to hurt him in the pocket. Okay, he might have lost money on the fight and some future Conor Benn earnings, but his business isn't really impacted. So he can just continue to pick and choose who interviews him and put out his narrative without truly being questioned. I think that's what he thinks. I mean, he was giving interviews knowing that Conor Benn relinquished his border control license. I mean, let me just tell you that again. He was giving interviews, right, with the people who he picked to interview him, right? And he said, and he never told anyone that Conor Benn hasn't got a British boxing border control license. I mean, that's pretty big news. That's pretty big news, right? Conor Benn in the interview with The Sun, he's saying he doesn't want to go down loopholes and he doesn't want to fight on another board's license and he wants to clear his name. Everything you've done has been a loophole, right? Eddie Hearn went back to the B sample test in that interview with TalkSport. It came back up again. And he said, doesn't make a difference to B sample. It's 99% certain it's going to be positive. It's the same sample, right? It doesn't make a difference. Well, let me tell you something. It kind of does make a difference, right? Because let's take it back to fight week or a few weeks before when the news came out about this failed test, right? Look at the statement that Matchroom Boxing put out. Right, this was after it was leaked to the press and the Border Control came out with a statement a few days before the fight. This is what they came out with. So you can see the words and the terminology being used. No rule violation has been committed. So basically what he's saying is when the two failed tests came back, because there wasn't a B sample, he hadn't committed any violation. That's a loophole, isn't it? So don't tell me you're not looking for loopholes and you're using loopholes. So it absolutely mattered, the B sample. It absolutely mattered, right? Don't tell me it didn't matter. It did matter at that time because your defense was he hasn't committed any violations. The B sample hasn't come back. He hasn't committed violations. So it mattered at that time, right? Then Conor Benn gives up his border control license, but he's not using loopholes. Why have you done that? Why would you do that? If you are so innocent and you were determined to prove your innocence, why would you hand your license in to the governing body who's investigating you, basically? Why? So don't tell me you're not using loopholes when you are. You're using every loophole that's available to you, which, by the way, he's in his right to. And as I keep saying, it shows how flawed the system is. These promoters and fighters are allowed to get away with it, right? They've been allowed to get away with it for years and years and years. I want to hear Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn come out and say, we take fighters' safety extremely seriously. We do. I'd never put one of my fighters in who's failed a test against someone else. I wouldn't do that. Well, you've not said that once. Why? Because you were trying to get this fight over the line, weren't you? You were trying to put someone in who failed a drug test. It doesn't matter how many amounts were in there. There shouldn't have been any amount. That's the point, right? So the process has to happen. You have to clear your name. Let me tell you something. The Border Control aren't innocent as well, right? They've got questions they need to answer, right? But it doesn't matter if they refuse to sanction the fight the day before or 2 weeks before. It doesn't matter. They refused to sanction the fight because of you. The drug was in your body. Do you understand it? No one else's, your body, right? So it doesn't matter if it was a day before or if it was 4 weeks before. It doesn't matter, right? They didn't want to sanction that fight, and you and your team were clearly pressing ahead. And when you saw the backlash, you cowered back in, didn't you? Right? You cowered in and came out with dribble statements and nonsense interviews, and we can all see it. We can all see it. All we want you to do is just come out and just be honest, right? If you generally didn't think you've done this, say it. Make us believe. Make us believe. I'm not seeing that from you. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with Conor Benn's assessment of this? Do you think the Border Control are being hard on him? Do you believe his excuse? What do you think of Eddie Hearn's involvement in this? Like, comment, subscribe, let me know.